Rachel.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
And
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Marie-Jeanne.
Hi. So let me just give a quick introduction and hand off to you, Rachel. So Rachel Tipograph is the founder and CEO of MikMak. Rachel founded MikMak, the e-commerce platform for social video and beyond, after traveling for 100 days. Prior to founding MikMak, she was the global director of digital and social media at Gap, where she oversaw strategy, implementation, and measurement. MikMak lets brands unify the digital storefront across online retailers. Brands using its platform can enable consumers to choose where they want to shop all over the internet. And Rachel is joined by two of MikMak's brand partners, Kyle and Marie-Jeanne. And I'll hand it off to you, Rachel, to drive the conversation on e-commerce for grocery.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro. Marie-Jeanne and Kyle, so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you.
One of my favorite topics in the world. Can't wait to pick your brain because you guys have probably experienced insanity over the last 5 months. Going into 2020, you probably didn't expect COVID to happen, and here we are, and your categories have forever changed. So I guess just to level set, like, how has the day in the life of your roles changed since COVID?
Go ahead, Marie-Jeanne.
We can't hear you.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it might be your headphones.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right, I'm switching between 3 different things, so you never know. Yeah, no, it's been quite a ride. I joined Ferrero back in December, and then coming back from vacation, I was kind of ready to, take it not necessarily slow, but get my feet wet. And it's been just ongoing. Not only strategy development on top of what we've already done, but really accelerating our execution, shifting a lot of our plans to take not necessarily take advantage, but make sure that we're set up appropriately for the new way of operating during COVID. And yeah, it's been very, very busy for me, my team, and kind of cross-functionally here at Ferrero.
And, with all happening within Ferrero, apps all of a sudden were exposed to you, where you're like, oh man, like we actually now need to fill that hole.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they were exposed. So e-commerce has been a focus for Ferrero for at least the past, year before I joined. And of course, they're starting to bring more and more talent with me joining in and other folks. But it's, so we knew what we had to work on, and we've put those plans in place. I think what has been the case was the acceleration of us fixing some of those gaps, right? And coming from Hershey and have been in the industry with IBM as a consultant in kind of cross-industry, everybody's been dealing with the same things, right? So supply chain, rethinking your media investment, and so on, right? So it's just a matter of accelerating, putting focus on some of those critical pillars when it comes to driving the flywheel effect. and then just, going. And that's what we've been focused on.
Kyle, so here you are, you're at Monster Energy, e-commerce explodes, you have a baby. I'm sure your life is completely nuts right now, but based on the things that Marie-Jeanne just shared in terms of what's happening at Ferrero, supply chain, shifting media investments, how are you approaching this growth at Monster?
We're actually trying to accelerate to a direct-to-consumer model. So I think, for us, it's almost a great opportunity where I think beverages are playing catch-up in DTC, generally speaking, just for the simple fact that shipping a beverage is much more difficult than shipping a different type of consumer packaged good. Everything from just the liquid itself to the weight of the package. But what COVID has done, I think, is given us an opportunity to maybe think about accelerating past a normal blueprint for DTC, where you would go step by step to say, let's go to Amazon, let's make sure we're dialed in with Walmart with online grocery pickup, let's make sure we go to Target, all the big players, which we're doing. But I think now we're also scratching our heads and saying, wait a minute, why couldn't we just do this ourselves? And is now the perfect opportunity for us to try and figure out a way to do this ourselves, or to test doing it ourselves and be able to come back to leadership with that business case. So, I think for us, it's now just, rather than looking at it as e-commerce, we're just looking at it as, how are people going to buy Monster now, right? Are people going to go back to buying things single serve at convenience store the way they did before? Are more people now going to buy 4-packs, 10-packs, 24-packs at grocery, at Amazon, at Sam's Club, Costco? We are in uncharted territory, I think. So it's still early days, as this is a developing situation that everybody's dealing with. But that's kind of how we're looking at it, is rather than looking at it as DTC, we're just looking at it as the total consumer journey and saying, are we, let's make sure we don't miss the forest for the trees, for example.
In a world where D2C might become more of a focus for Monster, how do you think your retail partners feel about that?
It's interesting. This has come up a few times, but the net, I get a lot of this from sales because I don't get involved in a lot of those conversations, but a lot of the conversations really revolve around, if we can create points of differentiation with partners, then there's less of a sort of competitive nature, right? So you could see a world where maybe what Monster does in a DTC capacity is really for hardcore loyalists, right? People who only drink Monster. One of the insights in our category is that there's a lot of brand switching. So if Red Bull goes to two cans for $3, we will have some people who buy Monster who will say, in that moment, I'm going to buy Red Bull. Conversely, if we drop a new flavor, people will say, oh, let me go try that. Oh, I actually like that watermelon flavor better than Red Bull's watermelon flavor. So now I'm going to switch to Monster when I buy my zero sugar products. So there's a balance here where we could say, perhaps, okay, we're going to have sort of our little carve out for the hardcore loyalists, but for the general business, which is a lot of people who go back and forth, who are price sensitive, who go in and out of the Monster brand, there's a lot of opportunity for us to still continue to do things on a retailer by retailer basis that give them their little carve outs that allow us to, continue to maintain strong relationships there, instead of, where I came from in fashion retail, where it's like, if you try to go direct to consumer and you're sold at Barney's, in the old days, it's like Barney's would immediately be like, we're dropping you because you're going to kill our business. So we're taking that model and trying to be hypersensitive to the fact that still 60 to 70% of our business is single serve at these different convenience stores all across the globe. And in the US in particular, and how do we approach that relationship or those relationships with care?
You mentioned slightly earlier, one of the challenges with e-commerce within the drink category is just the weight of the beverage. What are other challenges that you see in e-grocery?
It's the logistics. I think the supply chain is the big one. We don't have all of our products sold in all of the different variety of packaging across the board. At Sam's Club and Costco, for example, we only have certain products that we sell at that 24-pack case. If you go into, I live near an Albertsons, we only have like 4 packs of our energy, our Ultra, or we'll have an 8-pack of regular Monster Energy. So some of this is really a big supply chain. I'm curious what Marie-Jeanne is dealing with, because some of this gets out of marketing into I would love to do some different things in these areas, or partner with Instacart, for example. But the situation is we don't necessarily sometimes have the right supply to meet the demand we would drive. And so we end up bypassing some of these opportunities because we know we would take people to an inadequate customer experience.
Yeah.
Marie-Jeanne, what are you seeing within confectionery?
This is, so I look at it from a portfolio optimization perspective, definitely a big opportunity for us. It's the same, right? So we're kicking off now a project where we're going to look across our brands and our top retailers and really think through how we want to show up with what product offering, with what value proposition across all the different partners that we have to ensure that we're meeting those needs in a way that is profitable for us, is profitable for retailer, and it's really what the consumer wants to buy, because we're kind of having the same situation where, even though we are wanting to do more, we're still challenged with what actual products we have out there, and it's a challenge to make those shifts between the different retailers if you don't have a holistic price pack architecture strategy that really looks across the full spectrum. So definitely that's a big focus for us. And then the supply chain, more from a logistics and delivery perspective, is definitely a big a space for opportunity as well, especially for the new players, the pure play like Amazon. So optimizing the supply chain to be more agile, to be more, just in time, as a big player like Amazon is expecting, is something that it's really, it's a focus for us, cross-functional, because it can't just be e-commerce saying, oh, we need this, right? At the end of the day, it's going to become, to Kyle's point, it's just the way that we need to operate, and it's the way that we need to be more agile to serve our consumers, regardless of where they shop or where they are. And it's something that we're definitely taking a look at, in addition to the direct-to-consumer model that Kyle also mentioned. And for our industry, beyond kind of the other supply chain challenges around volume, or one pack versus or a single kind of impulse pack versus a bigger size bundle, it's the melting side of our chocolate products. So during summer month, we need to ensure that we're providing our consumers the best quality of our product, and that entails adding cold packs when we deliver to their homes. So that's yet another layer of complexity that started with Amazon, but now we're seeing it across, and of course with our direct-to-consumer model that we're started to think about. So it is a new way of thinking, and I think everybody's kind of starting to see what we've been saying for quite some time across our organization.
So you actually teed me up for where I want to take this conversation. Your title is e-commerce. Kyle, your title is global digital. Both of you are touching so many aspects of go-to-market, the consumer relationship. I'd love for you to share where e-commerce sits today within your org, and based on the shift of consumer demand and all of your past experiences, how do you believe e-commerce should sit within a CPG organization?
Yeah. Well, I can start. So right now we sit in the sales organization. And of course, Ferrero is kind of an interesting setup anyway, because we're a global company. Our headquarters is in Luxembourg, and then US is a market. And, you know, we're a growth market, so definitely a lot of investment coming this way, and, you know, shifts, but still from a organization perspective, we kind of follow the same structure. And so, yes, we sit into sales, but then, as you mentioned, we touch everything from marketing, media, obviously sales, supply chain, IT, you know, you name it, right? So what we've done is started a kind of a digital board, if you will, to ensure that we're all kind of going towards the same objective. And I think the what we've also started talking about is where should what I call more of a chief digital officer organization that really covers and serves as a incubator for this growth area, and then you know, basically you build in each of the functions, the representatives as you grow bigger and bigger. And I would, you know, think that's not necessarily a role that needs to sit in sales. It's probably a standalone organization by the side of sales, by the side of marketing, by the side of supply chain, and kind of have that, you know, place at the table, let's say.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. As you describe that, you know, I always feel that how people are comped really dictate their behaviors. So it sounds like having the operational layer as well as the growth and profitability, and have it be a center of excellence is what you're describing. Kyle, what about you? E-commerce
at
in the
Monster
future
currently sits in the customer marketing realm, which is on the sales side. So it's the same people that deal with, you know, Circle K and Walmart. What we've done, at least in the short term, is we've created a function within digital marketing that handles all of the different content and media related elements of that. So I have someone on my team who is the senior manager for what we call retail and customer and field marketing. So it's everything from Amazon Media to a partnership that we're doing with Circle K from a marketing standpoint in support of a promotion, perhaps, to, you know, what our field teams might be doing out at different events and different types of experiences. And the hope, I think, is going to be that we, as Marie-Jeanne was talking about, we start to create sort of a center of excellence around these different things and start to spoke this out in different ways. You know, my feeling is I don't want digital necessarily to always live just on my team. I'd much rather have the org much more sort of digital media literate, if that means embedding people in different places in the org that, you know, on an org chart report to me, but also dot right into, you know, our chief customer officer, for example, who's handling our DTC strategy. Then, you know, he and I can build our relationship to, you know, where we are now, where we have these conversations and sort of let those people do their job. It's like we come to an agreement on whatever his business priority is and what I believe the right strategy is going to be to execute against that business priority. And then we sort of let both our teams work together and say, you know, this is what we got to do, figure it out, right? So I think that sort of decentralized approach is working well for us. Now the question is, how decentralized is too decentralized? And I think that's where we're still early in this and trying to figure out, you know, what that looks like.
So Monster, notorious for creative that really speaks to, you know, extreme sport communities and skateboarders. How have you been able to train the organization to take the creative energy, but now translate that into e-commerce?
Yeah,
because it's very different.
It's different, and yet the approach has got to be the same thing, which is you have to tap into people's sort of emotional headspace. I like to call it, right? It's like they're going to make a rational decision to some degree about what product to buy, in the sense of, do I know about this brand or not? If I know about this brand, do I know about another brand? Who's the cheaper price? But The X factor is sort of the emotional quotient of that, right? And does one of these products feel like it fits me better than the other? And Monster has carved out that, they've carved out an antithesis to Red Bull, for example, right? If you look at just Red Bull and the way they market and the way we market, they're definitely different intentions behind that marketing, right? So what we're trying to now do is just imbue everything we do from a product marketing perspective with that. So it will be a cold day in a certain place down below before Monster does, just like a can that sort of like twists around and has like beads of water on it to show you like, this is our new product, check it out, right? Like we're just not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to say all that fun stuff we do on YouTube with our motorsport athletes, with our musicians, how do we take that attitude and then, translate that into the latest flavor of Ultra that we're going to launch, or the latest, triple shot Java that we just put out, right? And if you've seen that campaign, that's actually a really good example where the whole video concept is basically like all this machinery, this hardcore, like manufacturing machinery that pumps out the 300 product right at the end with a bunch of lightning bolts and sort of, badassery, if you will. But that's like our way of being like, this is our version of triple shot. This is not Starbucks. So like, if you're into Starbucks, this isn't going to be for you, right? But if you're looking for something different, here you go.
Got it. Okay. Marie-Jeanne, from a media standpoint, you're touching media. There's consumer engagement, brand level media. When it comes to e-commerce, what channels have you found effective to drive conversion?
Yeah, I mean, paid is usually, your number one for e-commerce, right? Paid search, and we need to win there. That's, in my mind, foundational. But then we are working, kind of cross-functional, as I mentioned before, with our brand teams and all our agencies to really build a 360 marketing campaign, kind of making sure that although from our side on e-commerce, we're focusing more on our always on search strategy as number one. When we have those key seasons, or we call them brand tentpoles, where our Nutella wants to have the Nutella day, or we're doing something exciting with Tic Tac, we're incorporating e-commerce into that overall campaign and execution. So, using influencers and using all kinds of other, media executions on site or off site is really going to drive the best results. And we're being, very deliberate about how we're setting that up, especially coming up with Halloween and holiday for us are, very big periods of the year where we have our Ferrero Rocher, for example, brands that are, premium. We work with our teams to kind of deliver that experience regardless of where the consumer is, right? If it's on social, if it's, they're doing some type of event, not so much now, but, other years, we would put together this like really nice influencer events, or in store or online. They all kind of need to speak the same message. So we kind of have our own ways of looking at it, but we're coming together with a holistic execution that I think will basically drive the best results versus doing it in silo.
So there's actually a question from the audience, and they want to know, how are the budgets being shared? Is it integrated? You said 360 campaign, or do you have your own media budget? Does the brand marketer have a different media budget, or how?
Yeah, no, we have one budget that basically we're working together to slice and dice, if you will. So depending on, again, what the focus is, everybody comes with their expertise, and we're kind of working together to shape what that plan is for the full year. So it's really one budget, not, and we don't do, everybody does their own and then come together afterwards and like, oh, hopefully it worked. And this is actually a ways of working that is kind of new for Ferrero since last year, and then with me coming in now, we're pushing even harder to make sure that we're all kind of thinking through holistically.
Mm-hmm. So Kyle, we do a lot of work together helping you drive purchase intent via social. Marie-Jeanne talked about search. What have you seen work in terms of channel effectiveness when it comes to e-com?
That's a good question. Monster is really early days in a lot of respects with media. So I would say so far we have seen some promising things in working with you guys on the social front. We're starting to get more into search. And part of the reason that we're behind on that has been Monster has been so lifestyle centric and almost averse to product marketing in some respects that, we're just now starting to do that. And that's really where search, I think, is going to have a huge impact, for people who are in market. We are seeing good returns in places like Amazon, for example, though, when we do, looking at categorical buyers who haven't made a decision on brand preference, or people who have visited our product pages, or looking at Monster Energy, right, or Zero Sugar, for example, and having ultra surface. That's been good for us. And then in some other respects, actually, we're seeing some good web traffic to some of our brand websites from streaming and OTT. And some of the ads we're running there where, we're trying to commingle lifestyle and product, and some of the stuff where you have, like opt-in engagements with a partner like Truex, for example, you're getting that quality time spent with the brand. People can get a little bit deeper into the product, and we're finding when we do that, when we give people a chance to give us more of their attention, and it's more of like a mutual exchange, instead of us bombarding them with 30 seconds and forcing them to watch it, they end up being more curious and wanting to come, check out the website or go to the store locator and see what store's nearest them. So I would say we're learning that there's different opportunities with each of these different mediums. And now the question is going to be in 2021, how do we start to scale the best performers, right? Because we're kind of putting it all out there right now. And the next question is going to be like, okay, where are we getting the best ROAS? And how do we start funneling that and turning that always on, if you will?
Yeah. Your comment about streaming video, when we remove Facebook as a traffic source, we've seen programmatic publishers and then streaming video, whether it's online video, OTT. So it makes perfect sense. Final question for both of you. My favorite question that I love to ask people, because it was once asked to me and I was like, oh man, that is such a good one. Within the industry of, whether you want to call it e-commerce, e-grocery, what would you get rid of? So what would you kill? What would you buy, like an acquisition? And what would you do yourself? Marie-Jeanne,
okay.
I'll propose it to you first.
Yeah, so I think my get rid of is the tradition. It's funny because we were just talking about this, but kind of traditional way of looking at media investments and really getting away from thinking of e-commerce as just kind of that, sales delivery channel. It's so much more than that. So, shifting some of that metrics and the way that we capture them. Think last mile delivery startup. Getting our products to the consumers. Definitely a big focus. And then do yourself, or I don't know, it's just it's such a hard thing to do and to do it right. But I would really like to have a analytics solution for optimizing the entire flywheel. There's so many interdependencies between assortment, availability, media, and all the tactics within content, ratings and reviewing, all the like that. There's some players out there, but sometimes I'm kind of skeptical of what they're putting in front of me. So yeah, I would invest in that.
I like to think that MikMak can get you a little closer.
Yeah, you guys are. I'm curious to see. I know we're finally getting started with you, and really excited to see what we can do there.
Same here. And Kyle, what would you kill? What would you buy? What would you do yourself?
Marie-Jeanne kind of stole it. I would kill. I'll start with kill because that's where we're different. But I think we'll agree in both of our kills, which is I would kill the impression once and for all as a cost basis for media. It still drives me insane when I have to work with our media partners and look at CPMs. Forgetting about the fact that it's a terrible metric from a KPI standpoint, the fact that it is a horrible metric from a cost basis standpoint, I think, to be looking at how you invest. That would be what I would kill. I got to agree with Marie on the last mile delivery service. Like, that's what I would buy. If I'm looking at my own personal investment portfolio or my company is, I can't get enough of that. And I think the recent news with Uber and Postmates is a perfect example of why that's so important, right? Uber made that claim a few months ago where they were headed next, and then look what they did. And look what it's probably going to do for them. And then in terms of what I would do, I'm a data geek as well. So kind of to what Marie-Jeanne said, I think I would love to really work on attribution. I would love to be a part of, figuring out how you sort of optimize your storytelling for the right audiences. I look at it the same way. I'm a sports geek. So there's the Football Outsiders have their DVOA score, which basically says, not all 1 yard runs are created equal, right? Somebody running 1 yard across the goal line for a touchdown is different than somebody running for 1 yard on 1st and 10 from the 50-yard line. And I think that's basically the problem we have right now with digital media attribution is we kind of tend to treat all the metrics the same regardless of context. And the context, if content's king, context is God, in my opinion. And so I agree with Marie-Jeanne there. I would love to sort of work on that flywheel element and trying to figure out, like, how do you truly understand attributing a customer journey and investments along the way, and where you're seeing the most impact, the least impact, and maybe the delta where you can create some greater incrementality.
I love it. Well, hopefully everyone today learned more about e-grocery from these two great minds. Please follow them on LinkedIn, Marie-Jeanne, Kyle Maurer. It's insane to see what's happening in e-grocery right now, and they both have organizations that are at the forefront of it. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye.